Welcome to the Inside Integration Podcast. My name is Chris. I am joined, as always, by my partner Jayson.
What's up, everybody?
Jesse is face deep in a bowl of poi right now, and he couldn't join us. So
yeah, he's gunning through pipeline right now. He's getting barreled.
And that's and these are not euphemisms. This is actually he's probably eating poi and probably in the ocean. So face deep in a bowl of poi and getting piped.
Man, if we sound whoa, that's a bad combo. Just walk that back right now.
But yeah. So
hey,
we're here.
Welcome to the show, everybody.
Welcome to the show.
It's spring is in the air, Chris. It's a time of change. It's a time for renewal. It's been an interesting start to 2025 to say the least, between shifts in the political climate, shifts in financial climate, consumer consumer confidence is at an all-time sideways. Like, nobody really knows what's going on. But the luxury market and the high-end market continues to dominate and continues to grow and evolve in a very exciting way for people that are involved in that strata of the world. So, and health problems and personal issues aside, how's your 2025 going so far?
I mean, is this going to be? Are we just turning this straight up into a therapy show, like right out of the gate?
I don't know what we're doing. We didn't even have the pre-meeting.
No, it's true.
Pre-podcast meeting. We talked about a bunch of other stuff. We talked about Cheddar Bay biscuits. That was my lunch, a cold Cheddar Bay biscuit for those playing at home. Drink.
I mean, if you want to talk about things that are positive in this new year, Cheddar Bay biscuits, good place to start for sure.
No more never-ending shrimp though, because that was putting.
I mean, my shrimp numbers are through the roof. Could you just imagine, some Red Lobster exec just trying to do a P&L on shrimp consumption?
Is there a tariff on shrimp? I mean,
let's
start there.
You got to imagine that we catch all of our shrimp domestically. And welcome to Shellfish Talk. We're your hosts.
To Vietnam.
No, it's kind of a weird mood today. And again, there was no pre-show prep because it's literally like we went right from a meeting into this, and then I'm going right into a full afternoon full of meetings.
I've got a couple of heavy hitters this afternoon too. So this is a little sorbet, mental sorbet for you and I, where we get to clear the decks.
A palate cleanser.
A little bit. It's like if you're smelling different perfumes or colognes, they stick those coffee beans under your nose so you can sort of break the chain and start over again. Right. So I think, renewal and new things for this year it seems like a good theme for this episode. As we struggle personally, professionally with some changes out there, and because this is a pirate ship, and unaffiliated with anything out there, I think we can be brutally honest. Right?
Yeah, I think, or at the very least, you get to sit through us, tap dancing around the landmines. Sure,
just talk about it, right? Like, who cares? Like, it's fine.
It's true.
It's in the news. We switched from Sony to Samsung, and the Hatfields showed up at the McCoys for Thanksgiving, right? Like, that's kind of
for us, and for our territories, and this is kind of lost on any. And it doesn't mean anything to any other territory or anywhere else. But, for us in the Pacific Northwest and NorCal, like, we've had and I say we've had a long relationship with Sony. We love the people over there. We've worked with them for a long time. So for us, I mean, this was a total gut punch. I mean, we've talked about this on 3 shows already, but
well, we've danced around.
It's all
about
getting
it,
very new, right?
But it's still new, right? And it's still the news of the day, and it's still changed. We're still evolving. Like, heck, I mean, when you hear this podcast, I'll be sitting in Austin, Texas, potentially, depending on when you listen to it. But when this thing goes live, we'll say I'll be sitting in Austin, Texas, actually at the national sales meeting for Samsung, which is a place that I might have visualized in my brain, but I don't think, I ever actually imagined that I would go there. And it's, again, I'm not trying to put a negative connotation or context to this at all. It's just like, I'm in the upside down. Things are dynamic.
Sure.
Stuff changes. Don't get too married to any one thing or any, in your career, I guess, unless you're absolutely certain that, either you started this thing yourself and you're going to see it all the way through to the bitter end, or you know for sure that you've got job security for the rest of your life in that role, because stuff changes, things happen, right?
And just to continue the trend of making fun of the guy who's not here, not only will Jesse be face deep in poi and getting piped, he'll also probably be deep in Austin, just like you will. So
he will not be deep in Austin. Actually, it's just he's on holiday, right?
Oh,
so
right.
He's not going to be able to commute from the tiny island of wherever he's at.
He's not making it no.
to Austin. So yeah, it's just the muckety mucks that are going to this. And I don't know, based on my new job title, muckety muck is apparently in parentheses in there somewhere. So I'm going to this. I'm going to this deal.
I would tell you from sort of an outside observer, I think it's, there is something to be said for, it's good to get everybody in, right? Like obviously you're going to go into a territory with new people on the ground. It's a really good idea to get those people on the ground into your system, and a good way to do that if you're having a national meeting, pull them in and give us all the information, right? Because we're basically learning a new language in a lot of ways, right? Like it's new products, it's new procedures, it's new everything, and just trying to step that all up so that we could serve our dealer base the best. But yeah, the full immersion of an event in Austin where there'll probably be some kind of cheerleading and stuff, like you see. Those early morning Walmart meetings where everybody's in there and leading the cheer. I mean, I used to do my morning meetings at Best Buy when I wore a blue shirt in the 90s, there
bro.
You go.
You got in there in the morning before the store opened up. You had your nighttime meeting before everybody got out of there at the end of the night. You had your Saturday morning meetings once a month so that you could, be really excited about being there at 6 a.m. For a 9 a.m. start. Just the retail day is a different world.
Nah, it's good. It's a good, at least it shows that there's investment, right? It's not just like, oh, here it is. Here's the catalog. Good luck. It's definitely more of
it beats a webinar. Right. And you get to see some of this stuff in situ. Thank you for introducing me to that little phrase. I like that one a lot. It's a good one.
It's a good one.
It's a fine expression. But yeah, it's interesting to just sort of be on this ride, we talk directly to our audience, we talk to each other, and we maybe share some things. I've had some friends reach out that listen. They're like, yeah, this isn't for customers, right? And I was like, no, it could be for customers. Maybe we should do like a Tech Advisor podcast or something like that, and actually try to sell some of our solutions directly to end users through some sort of circuitous route. But yeah, it's a very strange time right now to be doing what we're doing and learning all the things that we're learning. And even at 51, where I'm at, you have to learn new tricks for these old dogs, because
isn't that kind of the point? Like, this is technology, right? Like if technology just stagnated, then we'd all be screwed, because everything would be.
If it's too loud, you're too old.
Right. Well, yeah, you're going to be. You're going to be in a rough spot if you can't adapt, right? This is all adaptability, whether you're a business owner or a sales rep or whatever. Like, man, it just changes. Everything changes. Things that were old come back around. Like, for what it's worth, there were definitely that Sony shootout video that I put up. There were some comments in there where people were referencing projectors that are very, very old. Like, I still love my X or whatever. Like, you need to evolve, folks. Like,
right.
keep it moving.
And the value perception of products like that and stuff is so wild, right? Yeah. Like having people that, like a video and audio center event, like, hey, we bought this projector from Joseph 25 years ago.
Right.
It's a G90. Like, that's got to be worth something, right? And you go, well, it's absolutely worth something, but
a lot of scrap in that thing. A lot of copper.
It's not directly relatable. You have to crack it open and get all the goods out of there first, and turn it into a coffee table or something like that, because you need a little room to park that stuff. But yeah, some people will ascribe that value to what they paid for something forever. Well, technology is sort of like that steak. I always would say that in sessions too. Like this is not an investment in anything other than enjoyment. This is buying that nice bottle of wine at dinner for your anniversary, or the tomahawk steak for you and your buddy. Like, let's do it Pittsburgh Blue, and we're going to be gross or whatever we're going to do. That's what a lot of this is about, right? Like, it's about enjoyment.
Yeah, and again, it is. I mean, I remember plenty of times, especially going from these older projectors to the newer projectors, and you and I both kind of did this at the time when, we were going from, CRT TVs to flat panels, right? So like maybe your lifespan includes both the carrying the 340-pound Trinitron upstairs to the master bedroom, and then also carrying the 340-pound Trinitron back downstairs to replace it with the 42-inch Fujitsu flat panel or Pioneer Elite or whatever it was, right? Like,
you updated the customer too.
Yeah, like this is where you are, and yeah, I remember that. Oh, well, what kind of, what can I do with this thing? It's like nothing. I mean, we're doing you a favor by by getting this mule out of your house, right? Like, here's what we're doing.
Buy this from me? No, we'll get it out of here for you, which means Justin's getting a new TV.
Right. That's a really interesting point too, right? Is like, the trickle down effect of technology is like, obviously we work in these folks' homes. We're not part of that. We're not part of that demographic. So the technology trickles its way down, where when you get an upgrade, there's a few people in your integration firm who are also going to get upgrades from where they were. I worked with a guy, and he was like the king of, rip out stuff, right? Like, you rip out and you put in new stuff and whatever, and you take the stuff with you. So, I mean, this dude each one of his kids had like a surround sound system in their bedrooms, with tube TVs and like, Mitsubishi Diamond Visions.
Dragon 1 on their wall.
Just old stuff without a ton of value except to this guy, right? Like, he had a full blown, I forget what manufacturer it was, but it was like a wood rack with like, it was all like Elan Z series amps that were powering the speakers in the guy's house. And it was a total Franken system, and he loved it. But, so rest assured, when you get rid of gear and you give it to your integrator, it's going to go to a good place. It's probably going to get used, and somebody's going to appreciate it.
Or broke it in the van because it was, poorly wrapped in a moving blanket on the way home.
dragged out back behind the office and either shot at, or somebody's going to have a spark plug that they're going to tap that screen with and make it just explode.
Yeah, they just want to get a good whiff of that mercury vapor when it escapes through the screen of the plasma.
Hey,
it's exciting.
It's all about entertainment, right? Like, here's your Pittsburgh Blue Tomahawk steak. It's me tapping this CRT with a spark plug to make it explode.
Ping, 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 ping.
That's it. Exactly.
Oh man, I think we were probably the same person at some point.
There is a very,
and maybe just like got hit by lightning, Freaky Friday style, and just popped out of a fountain on either end.
First of all, the New Jersey to Florida pipeline exists, right? Like, there's a lot. The Venn diagram of New Jerseyans and Floridians is pretty close together, right? A lot of the same sensibilities and that kind of thing. Yeah. And I think a lot of people who were doing what we do in that era went through the same experience, right? It was a wild time, man. Not to really turn back the clock too much, but dude, going from CRTs to flat panels, going from component video to HDMI, like, there were, going from not having any kind of network in your home whatsoever and like dial-up modems and that kind of stuff to full-blown high-speed networking and having to do that for clients. Like, yeah, man, those were some heady times, baby.
Man, I could build a house out of WRT 54G.
Yeah. that
Linksys routers, a little blue and gray thing. Like, I could put a nice addition on the back porch out here.
Yes.
With a number of those things.
It's completely fine. I know it's got two big antennas sticking out the back, but you can just stuff it in this low voltage can that's, in your basement, and you'll get Wi-Fi throughout your home. It's no problem. You share printers, whatever you want.
Sure. Everybody knows that's how this works.
Everybody. Yeah. So, yeah, I think that's where we kind of have that in common, is that we both lived through that epoch of technology.
So speaking of that, when you think about sea changes in your career, like technology, here's a watermark moment that everybody crossed over, like we talked about it already with video. So we went from the CRT TV to the flat panel plasma. Now we're down to the frame.
Sure.
Whatever it is, we've done 4K now, we've done 8K now. In your mind, what is the next technological widget? Doesn't have to be a video display, but what is that next sea change that you see coming down the pipe to drive what we do? You know, lighting seems to be the hot girl at the party at the moment, right? So
yeah,
because it's specialized, it takes skill. But like, what do you think would be the next thing? Do you have any idea or any feeling on that?
I think anything that's going to be a sea change is it has to be accessible to everybody, right? So that's where, you know, the TV thing is one thing, the network thing is another thing. Like you could totally pick up, back in the day, you could totally pick up a flat panel at any Best Buy or whatever. You can't really say the same thing about lighting. You do need, you know, you need a contractor to kind of do some of these things. You know, there's obviously options that screw in or whatever, but like I think we're talking about lighting on a much bigger scale.
Broader scale, yeah, for sure.
You know, we're talking fixtures, we're talking linears, that sort of thing. You can't really go and buy those things off the shelf. You need somebody in. So I think you know, as far as a CI epoch, yes, absolutely. Bringing, you know, giving lighting more of a focus in CI, I think is important. But for a general technological, you know, home technology thing, it's really hard. I mean, flat panel it's probably going to be displays and TVs and screens, and it's probably going to be something that's completely, you know, you've seen the videos on LinkedIn that are just all AI generated, where it's just a flat piece of plastic on the wall and lights up. I think that's probably going to be some kind of, you know, clear image kind of thing, right? Where you basically just put up contact paper on your wall and that ends up being your image, or you put this on your window and now that's your, you know, your television, that kind of like sort of a
your
Blade
interface
Runner.
Or what have you.
Yeah, kind of a Blade Runner thing. I think that's probably it. And it's probably a narrower, you know, there's probably a narrower scope of things, right? Like, you know, you can't really innovate audio too much, right? I would say like Sonos is probably the most innovative thing to come to just technology as far as audio goes in a while, right? You could build an entire home. You could, you know, you can fill your house with sound, control everything really easily, that kind of thing. That's a big change. And that technology is accessible whether you're using an integrator or not. For TVs, right? Like we've gone through so many iterations of this stuff, right? So, you know, CRT to flat panel, we did the 3D thing at one point, which was okay for a little while.
Super cool to see a polar bear on a 55-inch TV in 3D. Super natural, very immersive.
As long as you're sitting in exactly the right place at the right height. Yeah, totally. You know, we went through that weird phase where it was curved flat panels, right? So like now it's like, hey, this is great. We've taken a TV that's, you know, 3 inches deep on the wall, and we've made it 6 inches deep because now it has a curve in it. And that, you know, that was supposed to be more immersive. And, you know, that glare really felt like it was coming at you when you watched one of those things, right?
Yeah.
So, you know, there's definitely been some misses here. You know, the TVs, I mean, you probably can't get much thinner. You probably can't get much more aesthetically pleasing, right? Like real nice, simple, you know, the Samsung frame is a perfect example, right? Like, okay, here's a thing. It's a frame. It uses software.
Most innovative television product available on the planet since whenever, right? Like from a design standpoint.
Yep.
There's no question. Even my kids, when I was showing my older daughter, like, yeah, we're going to sell that. She's like, that's not a TV. That's a frame. Like that's a picture. And I was like, no, that's an actual television. She's like, there's no way. Like,
killer feature.
Even her, she couldn't even. And then when she saw it come on, she's like, that's really cool.
Yeah.
Like, what's the next? That's really cool thing, right? Like I'm trying to figure that out myself.
So bigger displays are probably where it's going to be, right? So now, you know, these micro LEDs, right? Like that's going to keep those pixel pitches are going to keep getting smaller. You know, you're not going to be able to see seams like you do.
Now I've seen.
Yeah. So you'll be able to have an entire wall of these things. And, you know, now your display is your whole wall or it's wallpaper, literal wallpaper, or super thin, you know, immersive, emissive films and that kind of thing. I think maybe that's the next epoch, right? So now it's not so much like, okay, TVs, you know, you could put a TV literally anywhere on any surface and anything. That's what maybe is going to be the next leap. There's, you know, Wi-Fi changes and network changes. It's speed. It just incrementally more. There's nothing earth shaking that's going to happen there. I don't know, maybe satellite internet in more places is more of a thing, right?
It's so making a comeback, everybody.
Yeah. So now, we've gone from as integrators, we've gone from, cable out of the wall to dish on the side of the house and aiming that thing to dish goes away. And now it's an internet connection to, we're going to put a dish back up on your roof so that you can get satellite internet throughout your home, low latency and all that good stuff. And, hey, everything's cyclical, right? But I don't see another place that this could be. Maybe a control system that is self-discovering and self-configuring. It would really mean a lot of programmers are kind of screwed if something like that happens. But when you're, maybe it's just ease. Maybe it's that convenience, right? Like Samsung's got this smart things thing, right? Like Apple is going to make an investment into home at some point. Maybe there's.
I just saw a thing about Apple with a rumored on-wall interface screen.
They're going to make a touch panel,
like TV thing.
Okay.
And then an updated Apple TV potentially that has this new processor in it that you can tie to cameras around your house, and it'll have a smarter AI that'll be able to look out and tell what a package is versus what a predator is, I guess, or something like that. So
hey, I'm doing that now, man. My Frankenstein ubiquity system in my home, it can tell me if there's a package on my doorstep or if there's dog shit or or somebody's kid or the landscaper walks in front of it or whatever. Like, yeah, these things are becoming more more out there. I would say maybe that is the generation. Like maybe the control system, ceases to exist. Maybe it just becomes, hey, I bought this TV and it's got this remote, or I'm using my Apple TV remote and that controls everything in my home because it's self-discovered and pre-configured. I don't know.
Yeah, I think for me, that's kind of where I see it going, is the specialization is really going to be a requirement to continue to do this at a CI level, right? Like you're the infrastructure guy, that industry is merging into bigger electrical contracting and data world or whatever that stuff is. To be the specialty AV only guy, going to be difficult to continue to live like that. I think.
Yeah.
Even with all the renewed focus on AV out there, it's still a law of diminishing returns, I think, in a lot of ways. But
and there's still a market for expertise, right? Like
for sure.
You're not going to be able to, like, okay, yeah, sure. You might be able to go to Best Buy or Target or wherever and pick up, a bunch of components and a sound bar and do a bunch of stuff. But to really like capitalize on that experience, like, yeah, that experience sucks. Like the soundbar experience, it sucks compared to fully immersive or whatever.
Yeah, minus some very unique outliers, right?
Yeah.
Or something purpose built, but even still, a speaker bar in a room underneath a TV versus what you can get with multi-channel surround sound is from an experiential standpoint, at least, wildly different. Right. Just different worlds altogether.
And the market still exists for people with that expertise who know how to put all these things together and make all these moving pieces work, because you're always going to have, you're going to have really high-end stuff, right? Like you're going to have an audiophile who wants the best speakers that they can get, and you just can't, that's not something that you can just buy off the shelf, right? Like you're going to have somebody who you kind of need to shepherd you through and get them set up and make them work and, make them integrate with everything else in your house and everything else. Same thing with theaters, right? Like theaters aren't going to go away. Nobody's going to replace, a dedicated theater in terms of, experience and enjoyment. Like that's just,
it'll just evolve into whatever the next level of technology or whatever that looks like is, right?
Yeah.
Like I think, we've talked about this before, but I think, on the display side of things, because we've been talking about it, the modular build your own wall type of solution, I think, is probably the next frontier for the consumer, where even anybody that can find a stud on a wall and can hang 4 panels, we'll just say we'll start there, a 2x2. I think that's really where the initial ball starts to roll with larger format displays and maybe doing some of that as decor, as we talked about. I think that's really exciting if you can get like a Samsung frame level matte screen that is floor to ceiling wall that can be live video, or it can be a touch interface, or it can be the outdoor, look like you're looking out into your neighbor's yard, or whatever you want it to look like Maui, whatever you want to project onto there. Going to do my Demolition Man
yeah, there you go.
visualization right now.
Well,
but that's kind of where I see it going.
And we're definitely getting there. And it seems like, again, like not to poo poo on it, it's with us for a while, but like you just can't, as those systems get less expensive, right? Like integrated circuits are getting less expensive, and pixel pitches are getting closer and closer, and modularity and processing and all these other fun things that, are increasing because of chips, right? You're, a two-piece projection, you're going to reach the end of that eventually, right? Like at some point, the price of those things is going to be low enough that two-piece projection for what you actually have to do to mount the thing to the ceiling and worry about walking in front of it and, do your seating and stuff. Like it's just, at some point it's going to go away, I think.
Well, I think, or it just evolves into something that you don't recognize as two-piece projection. Like
maybe,
the ability to make a picture on any flat surface with a box. I don't think that concept goes away. Like,
no,
you know what I mean?
No.
Like, I think, with mapping, and projectors are just going to evolve into something that they aren't right now. That's kind of where I see that. I mean, I go back to thinking of my friends that came over from Japan that had like bubble pop video game that projected out of their phone. And when they stood in front of it, they were the ones that were popping the bubble. I'm like, that's your friggin' cell phone, dude.
Yep.
The fuck are you? What are we doing right now? Where are we? And here we are, 2025. I still haven't seen anything like that in the US, right? Like, where is this stuff? Like, what is this about?
Well, yeah. And, you got to think, okay, well, the technology is awesome, but what's the application? You can only really, it's
some dumb video game that you project onto the wall to amaze your Yankee friends. I don't know what to say.
I mean, I could see that in corporate environments, right? Like that's, imagine like not having to sit through a PowerPoint and you're looking at some Minority Report style thing of like, oh yeah, let me bring in the sales numbers over here. Let me bring in this over here. Maybe that's where it starts, right? And I think that's
a little cruder than that, but even for what we saw, I was amazed, and this is almost 10 years ago now.
Sure.
This is a while ago. This is not anything new.
Those things exist. Like there, and obviously it's not driven by your phone, but like every single, like if you go to, and I have little kids, so I go to a lot of these things, but like anytime you go to like a kids science center or something, like every single one of them has a spot where there's a projector in the ceiling projecting onto the floor.
And step on the spider.
You're stepping on a spider or interacting with the thing in some way. And that's cool. Like
sure.
That's some cool stuff. The home application for that is less so. I mean, I could go wild with this thing. Imagine having a system like that in your garage, right? So let's go back and let me take one more step back to like the DMPC and that whole thing, right? The virtual production thing, right? Where, you have, you have a thing mounted on your ceiling that projects somewhere on your wall, and like, no matter where you look at it, it's projecting it there, right? So you're working on your car in your garage and, you pop up to see what the score in the ball game is, and it knows that you did that and is projecting right there. Like here, here's where these things become Blade Runner, Minority Report, all these future, goofy things. But
who's Edward James Olmos and who's Harrison Ford? Like, are you leaving little origami ducks and stuff at every crime scene? Or?
I mean, yeah, it's it's a little weird with the Battlestar Galactica and the paper cut off at one angle. Parallel. I can't figure that out, but whatever. But that's, as we move into that kind of era, like, yeah, these things they're not, at the very least, they're not going to start as just regular off the shelf things, right? You're going to need technology integrators, and you're going to need technology integrators who are up on these things and kind of have a handle on this stuff and can, take a client's vision, where something that they saw while they were scrolling through LinkedIn that's targeted directly to them, and they say, hey, I would, this is something that I want to incorporate in my home, voice control in every room. It's like, well, you kind of need somebody. This guy's not going to figure it out for himself. His IT guys are not going to figure it out for themselves. You need an integrator, and you need, an expert in, this is what we can do. This is what's in the realm of possibility. We can wire a mic in every single room and bring it back to a central, a central location and do it that way. Or we could do Amazon Echoes everywhere, or Josh AIs everywhere, or whatever it is.
Right.
Like we're always going to be in demand because we can, and those of us who can translate what the dream is to what the reality is and then deploy that thing so it works seamlessly and magically. That's who we are, right? Here.
Concierge are cool.
Concierge are cool.
Get our shirts online.
I have spent a lot of time. We're doing I can't speak too specifically about it, even though we are a pirate ship. But a lot of what I've been doing for the last few weeks has been in trying to get something off the ground, and part of that is defining what custom integration actually is, because it's a little bit esoteric or whatever, and
it's mercurial for sure.
Yeah, and there have been it insists upon itself, but
it's a snake eating its tail.
It's a snake eating its tail. It's true. It's a tapered turd eating a tapered turd. But no, it's it's a hard thing to quantify, right? Like it's custom integration. Like we're the technology experts, and that's sort of where it comes down to. So yeah, I've spent a lot of time and a lot of exercises working on press releases, working on emails, working on different things and videos and websites and whatever. And a lot of it comes back to, hey, custom integration is something that exists. And whether it's lighting or shades or whatever, it's basically you're the technology expert. And as long as we continue to be that, we're going to be okay.
You continue to have a job, you continue to be able to charge people a premium for your services, and continue to, saving for college or put a roof over your head, food in your belly. I don't know. I try to break it down to the most common denominator / most horrible thing I can think of. That's just the way my brain works. You and I have only known each other here for a couple of years, but I think we're pretty well aware of the other person on the other end of the call.
Yeah.
Most of the time.
You just got to be the expert. That's where, all the things that we harp on all the time and probably talk about way more than we need to, like all the training and all that stuff. That's where, we're, as an industry, we just got to make sure that we are indispensable, because if we aren't, somebody's going to come in there and eat our lunch, and it's probably going to be
absolutely
Apple.
An AI is going to come in and take over, or a little piece of hardware where, again, a DIY situation where, I just bought all these things and I put them in and it works well enough for me, because I don't have any basis for comparison. You go, ooh, that's not where we want to be. We want to be ahead of all of that.
Absolutely right. So
well, after an out of nowhere subject matter, no meeting, no planning, we managed to actually have a pretty engaging little conversation.
I mean, we filled our time, right? Like, and hey, we got plenty of time left to plug all the stuff. Stickers will be available soon. T-shirts will be available very soon. And
that's pretty cool. I'm going to come back next week with a review of Austin, Texas, and all of the things that I saw in Austin. They will not be product or brand related in any way, shape, or form. I will tell you the behind the scenes story of whatever adventures I get into. I'll wet the, I'll sharpen the knife with a little whetstone here. Looks like I saw the itinerary for this meeting. Wyclef Jean is apparently the entertainment for this convention, and I mentioned that to somebody else, and they said, "Oh, again?" And I was like, "So that's like a twofer. That's a repeat performance." I guess I found out that he's a Samsung artist, so maybe he's affiliated with them in some way, shape, or form. But
interesting,
definitely interesting. I've not seen Mr. Jean in performances or concerts before. I'm definitely a Fuji's fan, so I'm going to see what that's all about, and find out what other technology or things I can get in.
Okay. No, I was thinking about a different artist. There was a different artist that had bought a stake in, if you remember, GE had a thing called Wink, if you remember that. And this was a home integration platform. And the coolest thing about it is that they actually had a puck that you would put your barbecue tank on, your 20 gallon regular propane tank. You'd put it on there, and it was basically a weight sensor, but it would go to a puck, and that thing would report to your smart things the level of your tank, right? Like you would set it, this is a full tank, and then it would give you reports, right? So like, if you're living in Northeast or it's cold or wet or whatever, like you just look at the thing and say, oh, okay, this is great. Let's barbecue tonight. I got enough gas to be able to do that without having to go get a new tank. Anyway, but that was a different artist that was affiliated, that an artist bought that IP and intellectual property and a whole thing.
I wonder if it's like Will.i.am or somebody like that.
That's who I think it is.
Yeah, he's really into tech and stuff. Like, I don't know. It's odd, the people that are attracted to this game. Like, I remember when I was at Sony, we were at CES and we had the guy from the Neptunes, Pharrell, come through the booth, and like Pharrell's like this little tiny dude. It's like almost the same age as I am, like really close in age to me. And he had like the two biggest Samoan security guards that you've ever seen in your life, like to the point where like everybody was paying attention to how big those two dudes were. Nobody was looking at Pharrell. So it was kind of cool.
I'm what you might consider a Pharrell expert now that my children have both watched the Lego animated Pharrell Williams story, and they're big fans as well. So worth catching. I forget. I think it's on Peacock or something, but it's basically Pharrell's biography, but in Lego. As weird as that sounds, and it's pretty good.
Well,
it's a pretty good thing. My kids
poster
watched
child
it.
for Arrested Development of our generation, I think. Right? You still think you're 15 years old, but you're 55. It's weird.
More power to you, brother. Good for you, dude. I wish I was there.
I'm embodying that as much as I possibly can, hanging on for dear life.
I am manifesting that every day. So
absolutely.
Well,
absolutely.
It's good talking to you as always. Safe trip to Austin, and that's going to do it for us.
Take care, everybody. Bye-bye.